Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we are going to cover a new function of HRM. This is one of the major and one of the most important functions of HRM. This function is employee testing and selection. After planning for recruitment, after planning for personnel hiring process and recruitment, HR managers should then manage the testing process, testing the new applicants who applied for the job announced by the company. In this sense, we are going to cover some particular aspects of employee testing and selection. For example, I'm going to explain the meaning of test reliability and validity. Before testing employees, HR managers have to make sure first that the test is reliable and valid. We will try to understand the difference between reliability and validity. Next, I'm going to discuss the way HR managers validate a test. How do HR managers validate a specific test? In other words, how do HR managers make sure that tests are valid before applying these tests on new applicants? Next, I'm going to explain some important ethical and legal considerations that HR managers have to realize and maintain during the testing process. Tests should be made while putting ethical and legal considerations at hand. Okay, let's start. Before I explain the meaning of reliability, test reliability and test validity, we should first understand why it is important to apply careful selection methods. HR managers execute every effort in order to make sure that their selection of candidates and employees is accurate and true. This is because the selection process is of great importance to organizational effectiveness and performance. As the slide shows, organizational performance always depends on subordinates, مساعدين, on subordinates having the right skills and attributes. In this context, HR managers have to make sure that the newly appointed employees have the right skills, resources, and capabilities, which will allow them to serve organizational needs in the best way possible. Without having effective selection techniques, HR managers will not be able to infuse new employees who can serve organizations in the right expected ways. Another point which explains why the selection process is important, it's because the recruitment process is an expensive process. It costs the company a lot of money, time, and effort. Of course, the recruitment planning process, the testing process, and interviewing processes are all very expensive processes which take a lot of time and effort and money so that things go in the right way. Without a careful selection, the company would have lost a lot of its time and money on nonsense, on nothing. Therefore, the selection process has to be done effectively in order to ensure that the company's resources are not wasted. Another reason why it is important to apply an accurate selection system is to avoid court decisions related to non-discriminatory selection procedures. Sometimes applicants who were not successful in the selection, who were not successful in selection, who were not selected, they may file a court in order and accuse the company for not maintaining accurate and fair selection procedures. Therefore, HR managers have to maintain that the selection and testing process has gone through legal procedures. The procedures of the selection process have to be lawfully justified. So far, we have explained 3 reasons why it is important to select the right, why it is important to apply effective selection techniques. HR managers, successful HR managers may adopt some techniques in order to avoid negligent hiring. negligent hiring التعيين المتهاون. negligent hiring it represents the hiring process which does not depend on accurate measures. Negligent hiring. Okay, in order to avoid negligent hiring, HR managers have to carefully scrutinize information supplied by the applicant. Scrutinization here is to make sure that the information provided by the applicant is right, true. Another technique is that the HR manager has to have the applicant's written authorization, in other words, written acceptance for reference checks. The HR manager has to let the applicant know that the company may search for references, may search for the applicant's background. Before the company does such a reference check, the HR manager has to get the approval and acceptance of the applicant for such an activity. Another point is that HR managers have to save all records and information obtained about the applicant. It is important for HR managers to record, codify the information, all pieces of information that can be collected about the applicant. This will help HR managers to make the right selection decision. One more thing that HR managers have to make sure and be very firm about is to reject applicants who make false statements. Lying applicants who lie about their work-related experience and skills should be rejected firmly without any type of excuse, because lying applicants can turn also into lying employees, and we don't want lying employees inside our company. We need honest employees who work and maintain a high degree of integrity. Integrity means النزاهة. In addition, HR managers have to also make some sort of balance between the privacy rights of the applicant and the management need for information about the applicant. In other words, HR managers have to limit the number of managers, people inside the company who have the right to take a look at information about the applicants. Not all information about the applicant should be disclosed publicly to anyone, to any organizational member. Actually, HR managers have to codify the information related to applicants in a stored documentary system which does not allow anyone to take a look at. Anyone but the head of the department where the applicant is going to work in, or the top management, for specific reasons only. Okay. Now let's talk about two important characteristics of a successful testing process or technique. If HR managers would like to have successful tests which accurately and scientifically test candidates' relevance or worthiness to work inside the company, then HR managers have to ensure that the test is reliable and valid. What do you mean by test reliability? Reliability is the consistency of scores obtained by the same person when retested with the identical or equivalent tests. In other words, a reliable test is one which is able to provide the right results, is able to provide an accurate evaluation of the performance of the candidate, so that if the test or another equivalent reliable test is applied again on the same employee, the same results would be obtained. And this, a reliable test, is one which can provide the same test values, the same test results on the same employee if it is applied in another time. So the test results are stable over time. Some people may argue that IQ tests, اختبارات الذكاء, intelligence quiz tests are reliable tests because they are able to provide the people who get the test with consistent results. If I get the test for the same IQ or equivalent test every month and I get, for example, 70% as a result, if I can get the same results next week or next month, this means that the test provides a reliable result, provided that I have not improved my mathematical or language skills. Okay, this is what we call reliability. Okay, what about test validity? A valid test is one which measures what it purports to measure or fulfills the function it was designed to fill. If I want to measure employee satisfaction, for example, if I want to test whether my employees are satisfied, this means that the test or the questionnaire I am imposing on employees, the test should involve questions that ask employees about their level of satisfaction and not anything else. Satisfaction means, are you satisfied? Are you satisfied with work? Are you satisfied with your pay? Are you satisfied with your relationship with managers and colleagues? In this sense, that the valid test is one which accurately and definitely, firmly test what it is purposed to test. If I want to make a test for if I want to examine the student's ability if I want to examine what my students understand from HR, then if I apply a test, this test should involve questions about HR. If I put a test which examines marketing, your marketing knowledge, then this is an invalid test. A valid test is one which asks questions and accurately evaluates the performance of the candidates in the disclosed for the disclosed purpose. There are various types of validity that HR managers need to imply or apply. These types involve criterion validity and content validity. What do you mean by criterion validity? Criterion validity is a type of validity based on showing that scores on the test are related to job performance. Criterion validity is a type of validity which means that the test can accurately relate to the employee's job performance, so that if a student, for example, if a student gets 10 by 10 on an HR test, this means that the student has a very sufficient or is very qualified in HR management, in the principles of HR management, so that the higher the score the test delivers, the higher the performance of the employee. If the test provides numbers or scores which do not actually relate to the performance of the candidate, then this means that the test doesn't have a criterion validity. A criterion validity is one which represents the relationship between the test score and the actual performance of the employee, of the candidate. If the test score is strongly related to the actual performance of the employee, then the test is called, then the test has a criterion validity. On the other hand, a content validity is one which contains a fair sample of the tasks and skills actually needed for the job in question. حتى بالاسم صدق المحتوى, content. This means that the test involves involves the right questions about the particular functions and duties of the job skills being tested. Therefore, content validity represents the content of the test. Does the content of the test match the actual job related functions and duties? For example, if I want to test the HR skills of a specific candidate, I cannot ask him about marketing capabilities and duties, because asking HR applicants about marketing skills will not give you the right answer regarding the question of whether the candidate is a good, whether the HR manager has the HR applicant has a potential success as an HR specialist. Okay, now we understood the difference between reliability and validity, and explained the differences between two types of validity: criterion validity and content validity. Now, before applying a particular test to examine the real skills and capabilities of the coming applicants, HR managers have to first ensure that the test is valid. Now, to ensure that the test is valid, HR managers have to move through particular steps. The first step is job analysis. It is very important to check out your job description to find out the capabilities, skills, work-related experience needed to fulfill a specific job vacancy. But the first step to validate a test is to check out and review the job-related description. The job description will give us detailed information regarding the skills and capabilities that we need to search for in the coming applicants. We have to first, before apply a specific test, we have to first understand what are we searching for, what kind of capabilities, skills, and work-related experience are needed, what kind of things are needed in our coming applicants. By understanding these required skills, capabilities, and work-related experience, HR managers now have sufficient knowledge regarding the important questions that need to be addressed in the test. Okay, after analyzing or having a job description, having reviewed the job description, HR managers should then move to the next step, which is to choose the test. Are we going to apply only a single test or a test battery, a group of tests? Well, there is no ideal answer to this question. However, research results have indicated that HR managers, it is better for HR managers to depend on, it's better for HR managers to apply a complex of tests, so that if the test of all these tests provide consistent results, then this means that the test results are valid and that the employee has been tested properly. Okay, but sometimes HR managers may feel obliged to apply only a single test because of time constraints. Okay, after choosing the test which is going to be applied, HR managers should then move to the third step, which is test administration. Test administration here may pass through two procedures. The first one is to ensure concurrent validation. In other words, to examine whether the test, the concurrent validation here means that HR managers will try to apply the new test on current employees, not the applicants, the current employees, and try to find out the relationship between the current employees' test results and their current performance. The main purpose of this test is to make sure whether the test results accurately reflect the actual performance of those current employees. Now, if the test results say that the current employees perform well or are well, they have the required skills and capabilities, then the actual performance is expected to be good. So when the test, when HR managers move and find out and examine, review the older and the current performance appraisal and find out that the performance appraisal, the actual performance appraisal says that the current employees are already okay, they are okay, then this means that the test is good, valid. يبقى هنا HR managers apply the new test on current employees and find in order to find out whether the test results match or resemble the actual performance of employees. If there is a contradiction between test results and the actual performance of employees, then the test does not have a concurrent validation. Then the test does not actually measure applicants' abilities in the right way. هنا HR managers if something went wrong in this regard, then HR managers must reconsider the questions being asked in the test. Another way of validation is to examine the relationship between the test results of current employees to the future performance of the employees. The future performance. If the test says now, if the test results says now that those current employees being tested provide a good performance, will provide a good performance, they have what it needs, that they have what the job really needs, then future job related performance figures must be good. يبقى هنا HR managers compare the actual test scores of the current employees to two things. First, the current performance of the employees. Second, the future performance of employees, to find out whether the test-related questions or the test process, the testing process, can really provide an accurate examination or exploration or evaluation of the applicant's performance in the job or not. After applying these techniques, HR managers should then make some sort of correlation analysis. تحليل الارتباط. Here, the fourth step is the result of the third step. After examining the current employees' test scores, and then HR managers should then move to the step 4, which is comparing the results of the tests of the current employees to both their current performance figures and their future performance figures, and find out about the actual test performance. Okay, after doing this correlational analysis, HR managers should then move to the 5th step, which is to cross-validate. Cross-validation here means to revalidate, to apply the same test on another sample of employees in order to check out whether test results provide the same figures on both samples. This will provide better confirmatory results, which allow HR managers to believe that these tests provide valid results. Of course, HR managers must ensure that these tests sorry for interruption. HR managers have to ensure that the test does not unfairly discriminate against minority or non-minority subgroups. In other words, these tests should be undertaken in a fair environment where all applicants are treated in the same ways. These tests should follow the equal employment laws that are presented in the national law and regulations. This is a representation of a sample test. It is in the book. You can take a look at it. Of course, the applicants who are applying for such tests, those applicants have some individual rights. These rights involve, for example, or include the privacy of their personal information. In other words, no one but HR managers and top managers should be aware of the individual or the personal information of the applicants. The confidentiality of test results also is another right that candidates should have. The test results should be confidential. No one knows about these test results but HR managers and the top management, which approves the selection of candidates. The informed consent regarding use of these results. Here, in this sense, HR managers must make sure that all applicants have agreed on doing such tests and passing through such tests. Another important aspect of test results, the test takers or applicants also expect from HR management of the chosen company to provide qualified people who are able to fairly and objectively interpret the scores that they get access to. In other words, the test takers expect that HR managers ensure that the tests will be evaluated, the test results will be evaluated by professional employees or professional experts. Anyway, the test should be fair, conducted in a fair environment where all people treated equally to each other regardless of cultural backgrounds or any type of social variables. Finally, today we are going to explain some of the major types that are used by employers. Well, the largest percentage of tests that are applied in reality is the drug test. The drug test. We are going to talk about all of these things later on next lecture, inshallah. Drug tests is the largest percentage, occupies the largest space of employment testing in our world. In Egypt, actually, it is more even than 47%, maybe about 90%, especially in governmental bodies. Okay, some other tests, or the next largest type of tests that are used by employers is the basic skills test. The basic skills tests, we are going to talk about this later on. The least major type is the psychological tests, and actually these psychological tests gain a growing importance day by day. We are going to talk about such psychological tests later on too. That's it for today. Later on, inshallah, we will discuss these tests, a variety of tests, various types of tests later on, in order to help students get acquainted with such diversity and understand the purposes of such tests. Thank you very much.